Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you to our Tuesday night Zoom. And I know some of you are probably watching your screens at home, watching the TV, see who's winning what. But if you, some of you I know can't see it because of different things that come up in your life, we're recording this for you. And what I want to do first before we get going is I want to remind people that are here local that we have the Heathman this Saturday, 9 to noon. Come, bring as many guests as you want. For those out of the area or can't make it to the Heathman, we'll also be Zooming for that. And we've actually now got just we're trying to get better every time. We've actually got two cameras. One of the cameras will be pointed toward the audience. So we're trying to get better all the time. So, if you didn't, or even if you did, hear the leadership call last night, please, because what Tim is going to go into, the leadership call led right into the things that Tim will be talking about tonight. It was Dan Bell and Brad Miller and just some great people given what they've done to get going on their business. So with that, Tim, I'm not going to take any more of your time, and I'm going to turn it over to you. And by the way, people, this is interaction, so butt in and stop Tim and ask him a question. I know he loves that. So go ahead, Tim.
Thanks. Hey, the people that I can't see on the screen, are they on the phone or are they in? Are they actually here, but we can't see them?
They're here. You can't see them.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's good. So maybe more people will come on. And Diana, this is good because I can't wait to hear what thoughts you bring up and Sue and Jack. So one of the things that I thought would be good for us to talk about tonight is a little bit about what we are and what we're not. I think sometimes it's difficult, at least I don't know about the rest of you, but when you think about your coaching practice and what you're doing, do you really know what you're supposed to do? I mean, do we really know what our job is, or where our priorities lie? And hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Tim.
I think the biggest thing that I think was we lose sight of that we came under the mission of Dr. Anderson, and that is our goal is to get America healthy, and that's really why we've accepted that mission, or to be a part of that. And if that's true, I mean, we really need to think about that in a creative way. What part are we going to play in that? And so I guess if somebody asked me, what do we do and what do we don't do? I would say what we do is we are in a continual mode or in a continual movement forward, and that is basically to continue to reach out and meet a lot of people, meet more people, constantly engage them, and always be putting on new clients and really talking to people about, well, how many ways that we can impact their life, which I already talked about on the last call, which was when you think about building your team, what kind of people are we looking for, and how can we benefit somebody by being a coach? I mean, it's not just financial. There's so many other ways. So really the primary focus of our coaching practice needs to be forward moving and continually acquiring. And I don't mean acquiring from a selfish standpoint or to get something for ourselves, but we're acquiring a community. We're creating a community. And that means that we have to continually bringing new people in, engaging new people all the time. And the other thing that I think we do is we somehow, at least a lot of us, and I think we've all been there, we feel like we really have to go overboard to support our clients. And what I learned as a teacher a long time ago, working with children and families, and what I've learned in the coaching practice, is that there's a law of diminishing return there. If you overdo and overgive when somebody doesn't need it or want it, it's really actually causing somebody to go back the other way. It's no different than than feeding a young child their favorite food, and you're going so fast, putting so much in, that they actually turn their face away and grab your hand and push your hand away. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so the best thing to do, have you ever worked with a child and even though they can't tie their shoes very well, they push your hand away and what do they say? I want to do it.
I do it.
I do it, right? I want to do it. Even if they get food all over their face, they want to do it. And we're making a mistake to think that if we do somehow more for more, that people will want to do it more. They'll do it because they want to do it.
Yeah.
And they'll do it at their own pace. And so does that make sense? I'm not saying not do a great job, not be a great coach, but what I'm saying is utilize a few of the tools and don't give them more than they want or that they can use in their life. Because how many people get all kinds of mail? Like people ask me all the time, well, should I get business cards? And I think business cards are a great thing. But I would ask you, of all the business cards that you've been handed or picked up in your lifetime, how many of them did you ever keep or read or use ever again? Most people, they say, well, and honestly, I never did. So it's the idea is not giving people more information and more, emails and more videos. It's basically when they open their mouth, put something good into it. And if they don't want it, don't. And the biggest thing really is empowering a person, making it really simple, right?
Tim?
And yes.
I was just thinking, I was stopping Jack because I think you're so right, because we can condition our clients from the very beginning that we're going to carry the load. And we don't let them stand on their own 2 feet and walk the journey, and we still touch base. But I think I was guilty of that in the beginning. I overdid. And then when they don't respond after a while, I'm thinking, well, what the heck happened? They were just probably tired of it, And
Absolutely, Sue.
Yeah, and so now I've learned a lot that if they're going to latch on, they're going to latch on, and I'm going to be the best I can be, but I'm not going to babysit them.
No, and we're kind of insulting them, right? Yeah. When we do that, because it becomes more about us,
right,
not about them. And then when they're not as successful, somebody asked me, they said, well, are all of your clients successful on program? And I thought, well, no. Were they supposed to be?
Yeah, they're people.
That's like saying, does every child get an A in school? Does every pastor have every person in a congregation be perfect after they give them a sermon? No. It's not really about perfection. It's about creating an environment where some people are going to accelerate, lose 100 pounds, never gain their weight back, and live a great life. Some people are going to go back and forth, but they're going to inch forward. That doesn't matter. So I guess we're getting off on a little bit of a side thing here, but I just wanted to share, because sometimes we can get stopped because we don't know what we're doing. And we wonder why we're not growing, because we're not actually going out and meeting new people and finding out about their life and finding out ways they can do that. That's our primary mission. Now, given the fact that everybody is their own individual health coach and their own individual practice, they can do whatever they want to do. So we're not suggesting that anybody has to have a large one, but why not? Why not grow? See, the great thing about going out and trying to impact community is that you grow on a personal level. Wouldn't you say, Dave, that a coaching practice, when you're really trying to grow, that it forces you to look at yourself and see things about yourself where you need to grow?
Yep.
Right?
I would completely. Sometimes that's not always comfortable either, but it's true and healthy and good.
Yeah, and we need that community with each other, right? Even the greatest athletes in the world need a coach. To tell, and that coach doesn't tell them what to do every day, like constantly, but even a great athlete can't see the mistakes they're making, and so that's why we need each other, and we need to grow. Doesn't it feel good when you grow and you feel like your capacity has been expanded and that your confidence level is better and your communication level is better and your reach is longer? Doesn't that sound good? So that's what we do. And So a lot of times we can get into the debate, well, I'll watch another webinar, I'll listen to another call, I'll read another book, I'll do whatever. And I don't know what your faith is, but there's an old guy down here, he's in his late 90s, and he's been with the Navigators all his life, and he said, he's coming from his perspective of his life, right? So like, I'm not meaning to talk about spiritual issues other than the fact that it's a really great example. He said, I don't really care how much Bible you read. I would rather you read one verse and put it into practice than read a whole bunch and do nothing with it, right? So, I mean, it's like I often give the analogy, you know, the soldier on a battlefield that's got all the right gear with all the right stuff on him and, you know, all the technology and everything that, and he's fiddling around with that, and the guy on the other side stands there in his jeans and his boots and picks up a rock and throws it and knocks the guy out, game over, right? See what I mean? It's like we can get so caught up with the next webinar feeling like we're doing something, but in this business, what we do is, hi Dave, how you doing? Tell me about your health. Diana, you know what? You're a person of influence, and you know, tell me how you manage your health so well, and can I share what I do, and maybe you can you know, share ideas with me about how I can impact your community. Maybe we could save some lives together. Jack, you know, you've been in corporate America a long time. You've got great business skills. Can I just pose an idea to you, Jack? And that is that from your years of management ability, could we sit down and can I show you what's going on in the United States? And that we've got 200 million people that are in trouble. And I think the only way we're going to solve that is people of influence and people of experience cultivating community and doing that and engaging people and letting them self-engage. And I thought, could I talk to you about that and see, you know, what your business sense says?
Right.
And, you know, we do have a great compensation package too that I think can reward people, allow them to justify spending their time. And maybe you know some people that this would be a perfect fit for. But I'd love to get your advice. Sue, you know, I know that you work in the church and you have ministries and you do all kinds of things with people. You have such a heart for others, and you're such a great communicator. We need that. With what's going on in America, with people dying early and struggling with all these diseases and not living as long as they could I just talk to you about what you think about that? And maybe there's some ideas that we could come up with together. I'd love to hear your opinion on that. See how I did that? I mean, that whole conversation, I just engaged 3 people, and it took less than 5 minutes. And it wasn't about a meal replacement or weight loss or making money or an opportunity. It wasn't about any of those things. Of course, it was about that, but not really. The main focus wasn't those things.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about why we're stuck. So many times in life, at least for me and the experience when I've been working with so many people, is we're looking for the hard reason and the complicated reason why we are, and it's usually not. It's usually really simple. It's we're not talking to enough people. We're telling instead of asking. You know, we're not getting out of our comfort zone, and we're not creatively thinking in ways that we can share a story that makes a difference. And does that make any sense, Jack?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So last night, like Jack says and Sue says, I would really listen to that leadership call because Dawn Chow was on there, and she's got a thriving coaching practice now. But when she started, it wasn't easy. I mean, there was a lot of things that she had to learn, and she sounds so professional now and so comfortable, and it's so fluid, and people say, wow, it's so easy for her. It's not easy. It wasn't easy. She had to stretch and learn and figure it out and deal with a job while she was nursing full time and had a small baby and was wondering, you know, how she makes the transition. There was all the things in life that she was dealing with. But all we see is the people that, wow, they're a global director or they're this or whatever. We never see the journey, you know. And so there's not one person that you see that hasn't had a difficult, challenging, self-reflective, uncomfortable journey to grow to be who they are. Right?
Wow.
Right, Dave? Yeah. So last night I talked a little bit about this idea of thinking a little bit differently. So who says we can't think in groups of 5 instead of groups of 1? So I was thinking about that. Well, why would we think and I posed this to the group last night. There was a whole bunch of people on that Zoom call, and I said, what if we all worked at Google and we were in a big, beautiful creative space, and there was an idea, let's change the health of America and engage people in groups of 5. How are we going to do that? How are we going to do it? Are we, and if people start thinking like that, then it's going to happen. I mean, people are going to come up with a lot of creative ideas. I came up with a few ideas. But so let's not think selfishly. Let's think, why would you want to do groups of 5? Well, here's the statistic. If you have a client that goes on program and there's 2 or 3 other people living in the home, what are the odds are that somebody in that home needs to be healthy also? Very good. And if they have 4 or 5 relatives that they interact with, what do you bet that 3 of them need to get healthy? If they work with 10 people at work, or they have 10 friends at work, what do you bet that 7 of them need to go on program? That's just the statistics of the way our culture is. So if we put a client on and they go on program, and at home they're the only one, in their family they're the only one, in their friends they're the only one, and at work they're the only one. I mean, what are the odds? Right. They got to go it alone. They're flying solo. They go home, and the husband or the wife brought home pizza, and the son wants French fries, and their family go to a family gathering and everybody's having pie and cake and ice cream and everything that they love. They go to work and there's donuts in the room, and the business lunches are inappropriate to be healthy, and all their friends are going out doing whatever. There's no support. So for our client, if they had one advocate at home, one advocate at work, one advocate as in their friends, and one advocate in their outside relatives, how much stronger would that client be?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Real strong.
The odds go up. Now, here's another interesting thing. If I'm the pivot point to that, and Dave goes on because he's my friend at work, and Jack and Sue are my relatives and they go on, and Diana is one of my best friends, she goes on. Now guess what? I'm surrounded in community, and if each one of you get healthy, that was because I introduced you to that. And it anchors me in, and I get to hear great things of Dave saying how much better he feels, and Jack and Sue saying how their life has changed, and Diana saying how her life has changed. And it moves to the top of my scale and my thinking in my life, right? So now I'm protected. So now I've got 5 people, I can't go to work, I can't go in my family, I can't go home, and I can't go to my friends without having an anchor of support there. So do you see how it benefits the client, Jack?
I was just wondering, Tim, does those people have to be, because I've always asked if you have support, and I say, do you have somebody to support you at work? Do you have somebody supporting you at home? And even if they aren't like on the program, but they count themselves as support, we talk about that as a client. Worst thing in the world is having a spouse that's not supporting you.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So let me address that. That's so a lot of times I will say this. I will say, Diana, how supportive is your husband at home? Do you have a lot of support at home? And before I even do that, you know what I'll say? I'll say something like this. How's the health of your husband? Tell me about his health. And that's the first question I ask. I don't ask if he's supportive first. So then I'll say something to Dave. I'd say, Dave, is your wife really healthy? Is she managing her health really well? And the reason I want to know that is because I want to know, if I care about that person enough, don't I care about the wife and the husband too? Do I want to get Dave to lose 100 pounds and then have him live 20 years and his wife dies 10 years before he does and she's sick and he's not? So that's my thinking. So I ask, first of all, hey, how's the health of your spouse? How about any other family members at home? Are they all healthy too? And you got a 70% chance they're going to say no, right?
Right.
And then I'll say, well, are they supportive? I mean, where are they at? You know, and I'll say, well, what's your support like? I mean, are they interested in getting healthy too, or are they going to be a support? It's really difficult for somebody to be a support that isn't unplanned, that isn't going in a way, because you know what? Even if they have a healthy starch on their plate, I can't have that, you know? So it's oftentimes I will say, you know what? And I'll be bold like this. I'll say, you know, Diana, maybe it would be really good for us to have a conversation with your husband if you want, so he understands the program and he understands what you're going to go through, and so that he can support you. And you had mentioned that he's having some problems with his high blood pressure. I think it's only fair to him and to you that he be aware and understand it. I mean, at some point, if you feel comfortable, I'd like to have that conversation. Why not, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll say the same thing at work. Now, let's just take into the fact of what we know. How many people think a work environment is healthy and supportive?
Not usually.
Not usually. So we already know that that's probably not true. And so a lot of times I'll say, rather than ask if they've got support at work, I'll say, how many people at work do you think that would be interested in getting healthy too? I mean, that by your example, they'll be inspired. So that's how I think it's really smart to be intentional right from the beginning, for the sake of your client and for the sake of the other people, because it's never just about one person. If Jack gets healthy, his wife benefits, his children benefit, his grandchildren. He's going to be more efficient at work. His brain is going to function better. He's going to have a better confidence. He's going to enjoy life better. So it's not just about one person. But a lot of times I think we think that way. And so I think I'm just posing the question, what if you thought in groups of 5 instead of groups of 1?
Yeah.
And what if you said something like this? Hey, Diana, you know what? I don't know if you really know the mission of our company. And Dr. Anderson basically started Take Shape for Life with the idea, coming from a medical perspective, and he's kind of a person with big dreams and goals. His goal is to actually change the health of the entire country. You know, you might want to Google sometimes Center for Disease Control Obesity and look at the map and see that basically 1/3 of our country, that means 100 million people, are going to die approximately 20 years before they should, in a pretty horrible way. And the idea is to get America healthy, and the only way we're going to be able to do that is through community. And my life changed, your life changed, and then you influencing your sphere of influence in a positive way. And because I know that you care about others, I was wondering, would you be willing to help introduce this to your community for people that are willing to, or wanting or desiring to make a change, and they just don't know how? And maybe we can just have a community discussion, and not in a way to convince people to change, but in a way that just empowers people and brings people together and offers a way for them to, and lets them know about it. Would you think about how we might be able to do that with your family, at work, with people, bringing people together? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, you know, most people are going to say yes to that.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, so that's just a way I think in terms of groups of 5.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it makes sense to me, you know, that just because nobody's really thought of that or nobody does that, why not?
Tim, last night you had the people answer about different things. I forget what the question was, but they said it, and then you took those things and started talking about them. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. So I wrote those down.
Good.
Well, first of all, I guess I should talk to you about transition statements, because a lot of times we're always worried about what to say and how to say it. So just imagine that people are really, really busy all the time, and they're stressed and they got lots going on. And how many people do you think when you're talking to them are actually giving you 100% focus on what you're saying at that moment?
Half.
Less.
Less than half.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not their fault, right? I mean, because commercials on TV used to be 60 seconds. We've got so much information coming at us so quickly. It's almost amazing. I mean, how a have you ever gone to like an area where there's a lot of people and watched them? Everybody's on their cell phones, looking down, texting, doing this, talking, looking at this. I mean, it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, there's no space. And so it's a professional coach. What I mean by professional is somebody who really intently cares and is going to step up a little bit, is aware of that. And, you know, you have to open up the space for them to think. In other words, prepare their mind to hear what you have to say. So you might do a transition statement might be something like, let's say Dave and I are talking, and I'm talking to Dave about whatever, and he says something relatable, and I go, oh, Dave, I know exactly how you feel, because when I was 50 pounds overweight, it really impacted my life. Or, you know, Dave, I know exactly how you feel that, because now I'm coaching. I don't know if you know that. I'm coaching, and the biggest joy I get out of coaching is I help people reach a healthy weight, and it accelerates and extends the quality and quantity of their life. So what happens when I say something like that is it, for that moment in time, it opens the space in their mind. They stop and they think. It's no different, Diana, have you ever seen a lady walk up really nicely dressed and she's got a really cute pair of shoes on?
Cool.
Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
And what do you say to her?
Love your shoes.
And what are you really thinking when you say that?
She has very little feet.
And I bet you're thinking, most people are thinking, as they're telling the person the shoes look great, they're thinking, I wished I had those shoes.
Yes.
Right? Most of the time, that's what people are thinking.
Right.
When they give a compliment like that, if you're at a restaurant and somebody looks at your plate and they go, oh, that looks really good, what they're saying is, I'd like that.
Yeah.
Right? For that just moment in time. So I think when you say something like, gosh, you know, I used to feel that way, but this is happening now, in a split second, people are identifying, they're doing a double check off in their life. Gosh, do I need to lose 50 pounds? If I lost 50 pounds, how would I feel? My wife really is struggling with her weight, and I wish she would lose 50 pounds, and it would really help her a lot. What am I going to do about my son? He's going into college, and he's just struggling with his weight. Gosh, you know, my best friend at work is, you see how in a split second their mind runs that thread.
So they want that pair of shoes by what you said out of your mouth.
That's exactly right.
They want that.
So now you've got the space, and they're not thinking about their entire life, you know, giving you half of an attention. For that moment, you've opened the space in their mind to have a talk. And that exactly at that transitional moment, I might say something like, Dave, gosh, can you just tell me for a second, how do you manage your health? Dave, you're such a great communicator. I know that you've had a lot of experience in acting and performing and impacting an audience. I was wondering, could I just share with you what we do in a coaching practice? And from your experience impacting people and presenting to people, could you give me your ideas back on that?
Of course, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, he'd be happy to, right? We were on a plane. The first time I went to see Dr. A, I decided I wanted to go down and see him because I wanted to see if he was the real thing in San Diego. So I got on a plane with Terry and David and me, and I think Jane Anderson was there. And this pretty heavy guy gets on the plane and sits behind, across the aisle from me, just one seat back. And Terry looks over at me like, you know, are you going to get that guy? You can talk to him. And I just smiled and I said, I got this. So I smiled at him and we were talking, and I said to him, gosh, what do you do? And he said, well, I travel around to 5 different states, and I go in and teach their employees about safety, and it's my passion. I go, really? That must be so interesting. You must be a great communicator. He goes, yeah, you know what? I've had to learn because, you know, it's a big problem in large companies. Their employees aren't safe. And in fact, I even developed this little card, and he pulls up this little card and he goes, these are my 7 points for how to be safe at work and how powerful this is. It can save lives. And I go, you know what? I'm going down to a conference with a person named Dr. Anderson, and our goal is, very similar in the fact that we're helping people reach and maintain a healthy weight to extend the quality and quantity of their life. But I'm kind of new. And you seem like a great communicator with very similar talents that I would aspire to in communicating with groups and people. Could I share with you what I do and you give me tips from your career and what you think would be ways to improve it? Because I would love to. So I shared with him a little bit about the program, and he shared some ideas and gave me his card. And then he looked at me and said, hey, you know what? I need that program. And I said, really? Well, tell me about your health and what's going on with you. And he goes, well, he started to share. And I said, listen, I'm going to be at a hotel. I told him what hotel. I said, I don't know what hotel it's going to be, but I don't know where it is, but you'll have to find it. If I'll be there for 2 days if you want to come. Well, he followed me all the way to the luggage area to get our bags. And he said, I'm going to come over. So he got lost getting there like 3 times, but he showed up at that hotel that night, and we had a cup of coffee together. And I said to him, I said, James, what is your main motivation for wanting to make this change in your life? And he pulled up a picture on his phone, and he slid it across the table, and it was this young boy, about 7 years old. And he said, that's my motivation. I don't know if I'm going to live to see him graduate from high school. I said, okay, James, well, and we talked a little bit more, and he outlined a whole list, medications and everything, on a piece of paper. And on the bottom of that piece of paper, he had a word. He goes, could I share with you? And I said, well, everything you share with me is confidential. And he said, the word was intimacy. And he said, I married a younger woman than me. We're desperately in love, and we have one son. We really want another child, but with this weight, it's just not happening. And I go, okay, well, let's work on that. Make a long story short, he didn't go on program right then, but I followed up a couple times, and he was driving at 10 o'clock at night through Arizona to the next state. And I finally was talking to him, and he was kind of like vacillating, and I just went dead quiet. I just said, well, James, and I didn't say anything, and I waited. And you know what, at the end of that silence, he goes, I guess you need my credit card. And I said, yes, I do.
Yeah.
So here's the interesting thing about that conversation. 6 months later, he calls me on the phone. He's all excited. And I go, well, what are you excited about? And he says, my wife woke me up this morning and said, good morning, Daddy, again.
Oh.
We have a beautiful, beautiful little girl.
Oh.
She's 5 years old now. I want you to think about that for a second. A 5-year-old girl's playing with her dad right now because I turned around catty corner to me on an airplane and engaged another human being and talked to them. And I didn't press. I just stayed with that. And I followed up several times until as his advocate, because most people would have given up because he didn't go on right away. And after the 3rd phone call, he didn't go on right away. But I wasn't going to give up because I kept seeing that little boy's face in my mind standing in the backyard. Does that give you an idea?
Jim, I think the key word there was you were his advocate. You weren't there trying to get a client.
No.
You were advocating for his health and what he wanted. He already told you what he wanted. So you just stayed on there because you wanted him to get that opportunity to accomplish the thing that he wanted to accomplish. So, I mean, to me, that was the key word you said tonight is I think we have to, and I'm as guilty. I come from a sales background, so I've got to really be careful that
We miss opportunity.
well, and that we're not trailing the person. I mean that in this way, that we're not after them or getting after them because we're trying to get that client, that we're after them because what they want is so important to us, and we know we can deliver it. And when they're ready, then we're ready to help them.
Well, yeah, I think so, Jack. And the interesting thing is we're so quick to tell and to present instead of, listening and asking somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, how are you going to know how to talk to somebody if you don't know anything about them or what they want or anything? And I think, so one of the things I said last night, Jack, that you asked me about was, I asked everybody what your favorite hobby was. Or you know, I was trying to share the idea that you can take your life experience and use it as a bridge to basically use that as a platform. And people called out yoga, muscle cars, what else was it? Tennis, bicycling, all kinds of things, quilting. So I said, okay, well, let's think about this. Everybody has a passion. I mean, if they like cycling, they love it. They love their bikes. They like to go on a bike ride. If they like hiking, it really means a lot to them. If they like to quilt, or you know, if they like old cars, you know, and they like to go to car shows and things like that, those are really important to those people. They enjoy that. And if you have that same interest, 70% of America is overweight. Most people are unhappy with their jobs. Most people are stressed. They have no advocate for their health. I mean, can you imagine if somebody's 50 pounds overweight sitting and trying to quilt in a chair with their back hurting, their knees hurting, they didn't get any good sleep the night before, and they're a little embarrassed to go to their party because they're overweight and the chairs that they got have arms in them and they can't really sit at those chairs. You know, I mean, can you imagine that? And then they're going to do their favorite activity. They're going to quilt while their back hurts and they're tired. So, I mean, or how about somebody that wants to go and enjoy cars, but, you know, they used to be able to walk all around the place and see all the cars, but now they can't walk all the way around because their knees hurt too much. And they, you know, they have to park a long way to the stadium where the cars are. And now they have to cut their trip short because they can't see all that they wanted to see because they're not as healthy as they should be. So what if you used your activity that you're good at, like acting? Dave's really great at acting and singing. If you're 50, Dave, I'll just ask you, now that you've lost 100 pounds, can you sing a little bit better and easier on stage than you used to?
Oh, yeah, physically and mentally. Physically because my muscles work better and I can take a bigger breath and control it, and mentally because I know I don't look so bad. And I saw some pictures of me singing in the past and I was amazed at how bad I looked, and that was always kind of in the back of my mind because I knew that. So a couple of levels it helped.
Well, so here's an interesting thing. If that's a passion of yours, singing and acting, wouldn't it be great to get a group of singers and actors together and talk about how health could improve the quality and quantity of the activity they love so much?
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah. I mean, you know, people that cycle and they love bikes, well, the most important piece of equipment is not the bike, it's the human body that powers the bike. Mm-hmm. So wouldn't it be great to talk to people about how to drink more water, how to get to a healthy weight, how to take the fat out of their liver, the fat off the base of their heart, to take out unwanted blood vessels in their body that their heart has to pump through so they can enjoy a longer bike ride and be totally present in their mind and their emotions. I mean, that's a bridge that, you know, the activities that you're passionate about. How about clothes? Diana's such a great clothes person. You put together outfits so great. I mean, you know how much harder it is to shop when you're overweight? I mean, it's harder. And, you know, it's like, I think people think that's vain, but it's not vain to want to look good. You know, everybody wants to look as good as they can look. And I remember going into a restroom once and I heard a father and a little boy, and the little boy was really like, no, daddy, no, daddy, no, daddy, no. And I was listening to how this father talked to this boy. It was so gentle and so kind because the father didn't know what the boy was complaining about until he goes, oh, your shoes? You want to keep your shoes on? And I saw, you know, that this little boy had a beautiful brand new pair of red tennis shoes. And he was really proud of them. And the little boy goes, yeah, daddy, I want to keep my shoes on. I want to keep my shoes on. See how important that was to him? He wanted to keep his cool red shoes on instead of having his dad take his shoes off. So, I mean, don't underestimate the bridge that you already have. And I mean, there's so much more we could cover.
Yes.
But remember that the thing, use what tools you have and think about others and accelerate. Think in groups of 5 instead of groups of 1. Think in terms of give instead of get. Think in terms of impact long term instead of quickly and not sustainably. And reprioritize your life to what really matters, I guess. So is that okay with you, Jack and Sue?
That was great, Tim.
That was wonderful.
Just like everybody else, I think we could sit and listen to you all night long. Normally we keep these at 30, but what you were saying is so important. I taped this for there's some people that because of the election, and they asked me, had I please record it. So we'll pass that on. But Tim, I just want to say from the bottom of our hearts, you have really your subject matter tonight, and is
just the airplane situation and how you changed that life and that whole family's life by being obedient to it, and so for me, it spoke to me, don't miss the opportunities. They're all around you if you're aware.
Yeah, just talk to a lot of people. So
yeah,
find out about them, and like you said, then bring them into that circle. So again, we apologize, guys and gals, for going over. Tim, thank you so much. And again, we've recorded this, and yes, Bonnie, we knew you were there. We know you don't have a speaker or anything, but God bless all of you, and we'll see you next week, okay?
Thank you, Tim.
You're awesome. You rock.
Thank you.